Okay, everyone, thank you for attending. We really appreciate your attendance for this event. This is the last event for the Cal Poly Pomona Black Alumni and Friends chapter this year. We've really had a really good year of programming. And so this is really going to be ending it on a really big note. We really want to encourage everyone that is interested in being engaged in the political sphere to really take notes from these two individuals that are currently serving as mayor of their respected cities. They're Cal Poly Pomona and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo alumni. We'll get into their background and how the colleges have been influential in their experiences and their skill set in these roles. Before we start, I want to just give a thank you to our board members for this year. We really appreciate the time they've put in to put these events together and really get the word out. I want to thank Linda Ursa Fleming, who is the VP. I want to thank Carl Crawford. I want to thank Sandra White, Shauna Chambers, Walter Allen III, who is our guest tonight, Natalia Jenkins, Cassidy Adams, and Fred Jackson. Thank you for all of your service this year. We really appreciate your commitment to the board and the alumni chapter. We look forward to having another great year. I'm Corey Gaither, the president of the Black Alumni chapter, and so I'll be moderating the event tonight. And I guess what we'll do first is get into our questions, and I guess I'll start with Ms. Stewart, Mayor Stewart. I guess our first question would be, have you always been civically engaged?
I will say kind of. I was I was student body president in 94, 95 at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I had never really planned to do anything ever civically ever. And then I got involved in lots of nonprofits and my kids' school and all their fun activities. And little by little, started realizing that I was actually making a difference in our community through the nonprofits and the different leadership positions. So that is how I first kind of inched my way into getting involved. And then all of a sudden I was running for city council. So it was a different process for sure.
And how about yourself, Walter? Mayor Allen? Were you always civically engaged?
Yeah, I would say even I grew up in Oakland, California, and when I was in high school, I was in junior achievement. I was the president of the junior achievement, Oakland Junior Achievement Club, and learning about business and whatever. And I was in the Civil Air Patrol, and I was in a number of different organizations. In high school, I was our senior class vice president, so I was already involved a little bit before I made it down to Cal Poly in 1970, and I didn't know that about you, Erica, Mayor Stewart. She was student body president, or we call it ASI president at Cal Poly.
That's us too.
Yeah, and I was ASI president at Cal Poly from 73 to 74.
I did not know that about you either. How fun.
And we had a great guy that was the vice president of urban affairs, Bert Hammond. He got me involved in a lot of community activities, initially with the Pomona NAACP, and that's how I kind of got engaged in the community. And I was living in Pomona, renting a room from an elderly couple when I was in my second year at Cal Poly. And so yeah, I would say that I've always had an interest in being involved in a number of different activities, but mainly trying to do activities that help others in the community.
Yeah, that is very interesting that you both were ASI presidents.
I
Do
will
you see
say
any?
this. I
Mhm.
will say this. I said after doing it, I said I never want to have another thing to do with politics.
That's what I said. Yep.
I said, I'm not going to, after going through what I went through for that 1 year and working, trying to work with people that didn't agree on certain issues and whatnot, and dealing with a number of issues at that time with the student body. And at that time, the Black Student Union, which I was involved in at the time, I said, I'm done with politics. And that's a true story.
So then that leads me to my next question. What motivated you to get back into politics and run for your first position?
Well,
and
you want to start, Erica, on that one?
Sure. Mine is actually very clear. Excuse me. So about 2016, I kind of had enough. I just watched at the local level and at the national level. I was seeing people of color and I was seeing women disrespected on a regular basis. And so when you see the leaders of our communities and leaders of our nation disrespecting people, how do you think we're going to come together as a nation? That doesn't make any sense. And so I thought, if we're going to if we're going to see the people in these roles, they should be people that want to actually help the community and want to help us move forward as a society. So I was actually looking at supervisor at the time when I first started considering running. I had complained enough to a friend of mine that I worked close with. We were office mates. And finally she said, you complain a lot. You got to do something. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? Like, I'm already involved in all these different nonprofits and blah, blah, blah. And she said, have you heard of Emerge California? And I never had. And it was a program to help women run for office. And I said, well, I don't think I'll get into that because I've not done anything politics wise, but I'm either going to get my doctorate or I'm going to go to Emerge and run for office. So I got into Emerge a year later, and kind of history after that.
Now, is Emerge still active?
Yes, very active. There's Emerge America and there's Emerge California. And so I don't remember how many states have Emerge, but it's pretty busy. They have already accepted their new. Yeah, they've already accepted their new cohort. And one of the best things, it's your Emerge sisters. So you have, it's not quite sorority life, but it does, these are people who are going through campaigning and going through coaching, consulting, and going through trying to help their community. And have you ever heard this before? Have you ever heard that before? Who'd you use for consultant? Who'd you use for campaign? And so it's a really great group of people that really are going through what you're going through that no one else really is going through at that moment.
Now, same question to you, Mayor Allen. What motivated you to run for your first position?
Myself here. Well, I have a very interesting story to tell. First of all, I want to say that when I left Cal Poly, I left with a degree in urban planning. And as a matter of fact, I was an urban planner in the city of Brea, and I did some work for the Southern California Association of Governments as a planner. However, I just decided that it wasn't for me. And I had been a police dispatcher for the Cal Poly campus for the police department. And I decided to just change courses. And I became a police officer. Well, after working at Chino Police Department, a local agency in San Bernardino County, I was fortunate enough to get hired as a special agent for the Department of Justice Bureau of Narcotic Enforcement. And for the next 25 years, that's what I did. I started out as an agent, then a supervisor, then a special agent in charge. And I was a special agent in charge of the Orange County Regional Office. And I got a call from the police chief that in Covina, and he said that, hey, look, there's a serious methamphetamine problem. This is in the late 80s and in the mid 90s. And we'd like you to make a presentation to the Covina City Council. So I did. I gave them all the details of what the scope of the state, the scope of LA County and Orange County, whatnot. And I got done with the presentation. And about a week later, I got a call from the police chief. And he said, I want to meet with you, Walt. And I said, okay. So had a meeting with him. He said, hey, listen, we have some council members that want you to run for the city council. And I said, no, I'm not interested. I'm not a politician. I actually said, I'm not a politician. Those days, I don't want to have anything to do with dealing with politicians. Well, they kept bothering me. And for almost a full year, they continued to ask me, because I live in Covina. So finally, I decided to do it, and at a whim. I said, I'm not going to get elected anyway, but I'm going to, if I get into this thing, I want to win. And if I don't, it's not a big deal. And I wound up winning the election in 1997. And at that time, there was only one other Black council member in the entire eastern end of LA County, and that was a guy by the name of Bob Bartlett. And I mentioned his name because he was a great mentor to me, and that's an important aspect that we'll talk about. You have to have mentorship to do this. You have to know folks that have done it or doing it. That's a crucial aspect of being an elected official. So I decided to run. There were 3 seats open. I barely got the 3rd seat by a few hundred votes, and I've been on the council now combined for the last 25 years.
And so I want to dig into this question as far as the importance of local politics. Why is it important for individuals to, one, pay attention to their local politics, the politics going around them? And then why is it important for people to run for local office? What are the things that they can change or implement on a local level?
That's a huge question. Huge. I have so many ways to answer this, but I'm gonna jump in with kind of a controversial one for a second. Roe versus Wade, 50 years. The way that we got to the Dobbs decision for reproductive rights being canceled is from local government. And I think people assumed, oh, this will be here forever, and it's only going to change at this level, this federal level. But it took people little bit in their local governments saying, let's not have it, let's not have it, let's not have it. Then I got the city and the county, and it kept growing. And now we're at the point we are with the Dobbs decision and questioning, are we able to have reproductive rights throughout the US? And I just, whether you're for or against, I'm not even bringing that up right now. I'm just saying that is something that we never would have thought that local government could have made a change on. And that's what made the change. So I think as we talk about, potholes and streets and police and parks, all the basics that we have, all the essentials we have as far as our livelihoods, right? So what do we do? What do we spend our time in? What do we want to do for fun? Where do we want to work? How do we get there? What do we have our kids doing? All of these just basic parts that surround our life, local government is part of. We, of course, are public works and managing, the roads and the water and the utilities and all of that. We're also managing Parks and Rec. Well, in our world, Parks and Recreation is also after school care. And it's also figuring out how to subsidize and help people be able to have access to childcare. It's helping people have access to a pool. It's helping people have access to different types of activities in parks, not just the park itself, but also like the Easter hunt, Easter egg hunt and hanging out with the bunny, and it's also us making decisions around polystyrene. Oh, poor Mark still can't hear anything. About polystyrene and putting the styrofoam ban, or our city, for example, back in 1995, we were the first to ban cigarette smoking in public spaces, and that slowly but surely became a state law. Sorry. And so I think as you think about everything that your life affects on a daily basis, That's what is changed at the local level. And so when you want to make change you want to stop planes from flying because of the greenhouse gas emissions, well, you're going to be there with a sign for a long time. But you can make policy change at our level that eventually gets to the county level and the state level, and the counties are talking about it, the states are talking about it, and this is where we can make large change.
Mayor Allen, what would you say is the
Very well
importance of
said.
being a participant in
Well,
local government?
a simple thing. You can take your sleeves and roll them up because you can get down to business and make things happen. And I mean, you can really make a difference for public safety, the roadways, the infrastructure of the city. But here's the thing that I look at as an elected official is in my community is quality of life. Leisurely activities for our children and our adults, parks that are clean, that are free of graffiti and gang activity, a community that's safe. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Now, Erica and I happen to serve as members of the League of California Cities, the African American Caucus, and I serve on the Public Safety Committee. Erica serves on a committee. There are 480 plus cities that are members of the League of California Cities. We all band together to make things happen at the state level. Unfortunately, at times we have a legislature that passes bills, and it's something one of your questions, Corey, that really threatens local control. We don't want the state telling us how our neighborhoods should be constructed. We don't want them to tell us how we should utilize our parks or how we should enforce the law in our city. We want to have local control at the local level. And that's one of the detriments that we see more so than ever. If you talk to any elected official in California, the legislators that get elected that come from a mayor's seat or a city council seat, they have a more of an understanding. But we do get people that get elected that don't really understand the importance of cities being able to have local control on their issues, on their ordinances and whatnot. If a city wants to adopt Proposition 64, which was the marijuana initiative that was passed that allowed for the use of recreational marijuana, that city can do that. But if that city doesn't want to have marijuana dispensaries in their city, they don't have to. So right now there's a movement in the legislature to take away that control from cities, and we think that's an unfair thing to do. Cities should be able to determine if they want them or if they don't want them. Now, it says recreational marijuana, but that legislation also said that and the cities can regulate whether they want it or they don't want it. So we don't need the legislature on occasion interfering with local control. So that's why participation in local government and then banding together with the other cities to bring fairness to the table when it comes to state legislation is so important to us.
Thank you. The next question is about work-life balance. What's the workload look like? Are you getting time to spend with your family? Are you getting time to go on vacation? I mean, how do you go on vacation when you're basically the executive director of a whole city?
Well, every city is different. I'll first start with that. So, for example, I'm elected by the community at large, where Mayor Allen, they rotate their mayor. So there's that. And on top of it, we are a strong city manager structure for our city. So we, as the mayor, I'm the leader of the policy, but the city manager actually does the work of the day-to-day city work. So I think there's a little bit of that, and I think it's also about, like anything, what you put into it is what you get out of it. So for me, I know that if I'm not rested and I just, burn the candle at both ends, I'm eventually going to be burnout and crabby and not great and not love what I'm doing. And so I have to sometimes remind myself, and sometimes the city clerk reminds me and says, you have meetings and appointments every single night this week. What are you doing next week to not do that? And I think that sometimes I bunch up a lot of meetings at once so I can go away. In fact, next month, there's four of us from high school that still get together here and there and doing a girls trip next month. So, I do take time to get away. And I think that's really important. I'm also, for me, faith is important. And so I try in the morning to do my meditation and prayer time. I think that's important for me, just to kind of be grounded and to be grateful for what we have. I mean, this city is amazing. We have a lot of great things. There's some challenges, of course, as every city has, but it's important to start the day with remembering some of the great things that are around us. And it is vital that you have support around you, whatever that looks like. My husband is incredibly supportive. I have some friends that are incredibly supportive. And I really encourage anyone that's thinking about running for office to make sure that their team members, whether it's their family members, how supportive are they? Are they saying sure run, or are they really supportive? And for me personally, I needed to wait till my kids were grown. It just, in my life, I knew that was going to be best. I know plenty of people who have little ones or have kids in high school. And, I have on our council, we have a person with an elementary age child and a person with a high school age child. And then there's two of us that have college children and one that's a grandma. So really, there's quite a range right now.
Well, for me, my work-life balance sucks. I have none. I've been a widower for 14 years, and my wife and I, she was very supportive and worked with me a lot on a lot of different projects. But I'm on 12 different, besides the work as a director of a police academy and a city council member. I'm on 12 different boards, and so I'm busy, but I love it. My work-life balance, sometimes it's an afterthought. I just love what I do. I love being able to take those calls. And Erica and I will tell you what's so enjoyable about the job. When you sit in the mayor's seat, you get requests for help. Yeah. You also get complaints, and the challenge to me is taking care of the complaint, because they're all different. They come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors, and also dealing with good things you can help people handle. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of those issues don't just deal with the city. We may not have the ability to help them. It might be a federal or county issue, but we have relationships with the federal legislators and the county elected officials, and we work in concert with one another to get things done. And here again, at the local level, you really get the opportunity to be face-to-face with your constituents in the city. And, and that's very enjoyable. So I may not have my spiritual side, going to mass on Sunday is very important to me, and making sure that I set time aside when I start for work in the morning to look at the spiritual side of myself, which I think is really having something to hold on to when you're doing what we're doing. To me, and Erica will tell you, we have the spiritual side that is a key for me in terms of what I do on a daily basis. So that's important. Recreation wise, there are certain activities I like doing. I shoot competitive trap, skeet, and sporting clays, and I travel all over the West Coast doing that.
I had no idea.
And I enjoy doing that. It's very relaxing, and it's competitive, and it just takes care of that competitive side of me. So,
Oh,
As you
thank you
can
for those
see, there's a
answers.
lot of beautiful hills here in our area. So I spend a lot of time doing walks and hanging out with friends that way. And I think that's the other part of it is whatever you like to do, you just need to build that into
Hmm.
your life. And for me, getting outside and enjoying the fresh air and the outdoors is awesome. And spending time with friends is awesome. Plus, I love to eat, and I used to be a chef. And so, some of the things that we get to do, we get to try some wonderful food at different events, and that makes it a little bit better too, being busy. But I want to highlight something that
Definitely agree.
Mayor Allen said is he's on
Hmm.
12 committees. I don't know if it's every city, but I know for sure I sit on numerous committees for my city. We have 17 advisory boards as a whole. I don't sit on all of them, thank goodness. And then I sit on this community services policy board for our policy committee for the league, and I'm actually being on Friday sworn in for the league for our Channel Counties division. So I think being active and a part of these different committees, it also keeps us aware of what's happening so that we can not have to wait to get caught up to speed. And that was a
Hmm.
weird way to say it, but like sometimes someone's coming to you as a constituent, you're a little familiar because, oh, yes, I went to that committee meeting or I went to that event and I know what you're talking about. I think that's really helpful.
And the
I
next question I want to, oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, uh, uh, Mayor Stewart is so right about that. These committees help us stay attuned to uh, keep up. And I'll give you an example of that. Public Safety Committee for the league. Uh, the active shooter is a real problem nationwide in terms of areas of safety for our communities. That's just one example of being knowledgeable of so you can work with your public safety folks in your community at the county level, in the community, your city level as well. So staying connected with those state, federal, and local elected officials and community members as well really gives us a leg up in staying on top of issues as they pop up.
And then the next question is, when looking at roles that are out there locally, what are some of the things that an individual should consider when making the decision if they should run for a legislative role or an executive role?
Oh,
Well,
you want to go first?
go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
I was going to say you go first.
Okay. Here's my perspective. I I enjoy serving in both roles. For instance, right now I would be considered an executive at the police academy as a director in overseeing the academy. In 2003 to 2006, I worked for President. I'm sorry, not President. Governor Schwarzenegger as the director of the California Youth Authority. That was an executive role as well. And I had to deal with the state legislature almost on a daily basis. And to be honest with you, I was running the largest youthful offender prison system in the country, the California Youth Authority. And I have to tell you that dealing with some of the legislators was pretty rough. So in that instance, I'd rather be a legislator dealing with the executive than the executive dealing with the some of the California legislative members. But as I would say that I'm serving right now. I just rotated into the mayor's job 3 weeks ago. Uh, I like serving in that role as an elected legislator for ordinances and resolutions and all those things at the city level. But I really like working as an executive at an executive level, like I did with the Department of Justice, with Schwarzenegger, and with the college now. So my honest opinion, I like doing both. Preferably not at the same time like I'm doing right now, but that's the way it is, and I'm actually enjoying both.
That's awesome. I mean, I agree. I think it just depends on what's going on in your life. For me, in the beginning, when I ran for city council, that was perfect because it was one for us. The city council is 4 years and the mayor is 2 years, so I could really focus in, learn, and be able to do the job. In my work life, I've often been in the executive role, and the buck stops with you. So sometimes you have to make the final decision, and you have to execute the final decision, and that can be rough at times. So you, again, when I was mentioning earlier about having that group of people around you that support you, you need to be able to know that you have that group of people, whether you're on the legislative side and running for office, or whether or being in office, or whether you are on the executive side in a nonprofit or a governmental agency. I think it's really important. We were talking earlier, Mayor Allen and I, around there's your official, right? There's your campaign manager, and there's your treasurer, and your volunteer coordinator, and all the people who are on your team to get you to run for office. There's also your kitchen cabinet. Sometimes it's a kitchen cabinet per issue. Sometimes it's a kitchen cabinet you can just throw everything at. Depends on you and your life and what happens. But I will say that there are times that we know a lot on the policy side. So what we would say seems like a good idea because we know all this background to it. But how it's going to come out may not come out in the best way because we don't know how it's going to impact someone when they hear it. And so I think whether you are on the legislative side or the executive side, I really encourage you to have a kitchen cabinet of your own so that you can really kind of think about what you're saying and what you're about to do, or the policy you're about to bring forward, or the program you're about to bring forward. Who is it going to affect? How is it going to come across? And is it the intent that you meant? Is it something that's going to have unintended consequences you didn't think about? And I think whether you're in the legislative side or the executive side, you need all of that.
And I just want to remind everyone, feel free to put questions in the chat box if you have any. My next question is, and it's the most intimidating part of running for politics that a lot of people think about when they first think, oh, should I run? Is, do you need a large amount of money to be able to run for office?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Every city, every county, every state is completely different. So in our city, for example, we have a 300 maximum, 300 per person. If you have a couple that's giving to you and they're attached, you can get 600 from that household. That is great, meaning that, you're not getting bribed in any way, shape, or form with $300. And it's also challenging because as inflation has gone up and money, everything costs more. People who want to give you more just can't in my city. So I think that's one of the challenges. However, one of the things I love about that is this helps me get out and talk to as many of my constituents as possible to get their support for voting for me, for endorsing me, and for giving me money. In Emerge, they talk about you need to sit down and think about every person you've ever encountered, your friends, your friends' friends, the person from the soccer team, the person you were friends with in second grade, whatever. Add them all up, put them all on there, and if everyone gives you $5, what does that look like? I have to say, so I grew up in a pretty low income household. And so for me, this was one of my largest things of no way, no how will I ever run for office, that kind of money, no way. I felt personally like I would be begging, and I didn't like that idea. And I definitely did not want to beg for myself. And one of the things that going through Emerge is learning what that money is for. First and foremost, some people want to invest in you. And I was so thankful for the people who wanted to invest in me and my policy and my style. And it was also, I need $750 to put my statement on the ballot in English and Spanish, and I want to do that. Can anyone help me? And realizing that it's about the signage, it's about the ballot, it's about the mailer. It's not about give Erica some money, because it's really not going to me. It's going to the website. It's going, to all those things. So once I realized that, that helped me have a little bit more peace of mind, because yeah, I have no desire to beg for money. It's a very awkward space. And I think too, when I was looking at a higher role before, when I first went into Emerge, they also showed you like, okay, well, how many dollars do you need to get, or do you need to raise by the time you win? And then you back that out, and divide it between what does that look like? Could you raise $1,000 a day? Okay, so how long do you need to have your campaign time period? And really just kind of working out all those details, it makes it more approachable and less scary. It's kind of like the how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
Well, I absolutely hate this part of running for office, and I have never liked it. I don't like to ask people for money, but as Mayor Stewart indicated, it's you're looking for people to invest in you. You are a commodity. I hate to say it, put it that way. They're investing in you to really make a difference in the community. There might be different issues that people want to get changed or whatnot, and you have to convince them that you're a marketable person. That first of all, that you can win, and not only can you win, you can help make a difference, and that's what you have to do. And as I always say, it's not the money, it's the money. So to get those mail pieces that you're going to have to get the walk sheets, and now walk sheets are automated, but to pay for the walk sheets, to go after your high propensity voters, to develop a strategy with your campaign manager, to do door hangers and all those things and signs, as mentioned. It costs lots of money, a lot more money. I'll just throw this out there. I have when I got elected 25 years ago for the first time, I think I spent 10 or 15,000. In my last election, I spent over 50,000 because everything goes up. Not only that, one of the things that drives Mayor Stewart and I crazy, the federal, the FPPC, Federal Campaign Practice Commission, they keep coming up with changes. Every year they come up with different changes in terms of finance law for campaigns. And in my city, we used to be able to raise as much as we wanted from one person. There was no limit. Now it's unlike you, Mayor Stewart. Our limit per person is 5,500. So, however, the real key to this is not just going to a major donor, but going to individuals that live in the community that are going to vote. So the more you knock on doors, the more chance you have at a city council level in cities like my city. We have 50,000 population. We have districts, which cuts that down even further in terms of the voter and the households that have voters. So walking precincts, if there's anything I would tell anybody, walk the precincts, knock on the doors. That's how you want to race.
Agreed. Talk to as many people as possible. It helps you know what your constituents want, and it helps them get to know you.
And that kind of goes into my next question about the best methods for fundraising. Do you find that because you're running for a local office, you have to do the groundwork? It's just not like you said, Mayor Allen, you can have a big donor, but you still have to go to the voters. They're going to be voting. One person isn't going to help you. you really have to get to know your constituents. So just could you speak on that, the methods of fundraising
Well,
and the
I
importance
just
of that groundwork?
yeah, I just mentioned one of them. We well, in my community, the success has been based upon door knocking, but also really good mailers, having a good mailer,
Yeah.
sending it out at the right time,
Yeah.
chasing the absentee ballots. That's another one. And here's
Mhm.
one I want to show. I want to show you. Hi, this is Walt. How about throwing some
Sorry.
dollars or whatever? I call it dialing for dollars. Like I said, I hate it, but it's a necessary evil. You got to get on the phone, and if you're going to run for office, make a list of everybody you can think of: your mother, your father, your sister, your relative, your aunt, your uncle, your neighbor, whoever. A lot of us that are crazy enough to do this know a lot of people. You know a lot more people than you think you do. You write it down, and then you make phone calls, and that's a surefire way to raise dollars. And then you have to have your elevator speech. That's another
Yeah.
nice thing to have. Uh, 250 words at the most to tell people who you are, what you want to do, why you're running, all of those type of things. That's a necessary factor as well when you're running for office.
Mhm. And when you and there's also numerous questionnaires to fill out. There's the endorsement questionnaires. So if you want the Sierra Club to endorse you, or your local Democrat or Republican Party, or
Yeah.
Planned Parenthood, whatever unions, whatever is important to you, that says, that kind of represents who you are. And I think also for local, while we all have our ideologies and our parties that we vote for in our life, local is nonpartisan. So I just really encourage people to remember that, and to try to get your endorsements from people that support you, that are on the liberal and the conservative side, because you are here in this position. I'm here in this position as a nonpartisan position to support all of my community members. I don't have to 100% agree with every ideology they have. It's about, if we care about that pothole, we all care about the pothole. It doesn't matter if you're left or right at all. So, I mean, just, keeping that in mind. And at the same time, your endorsements kind of show who you are too. So I think that's an important part. And I love, what Walt, what you said around the phone. And sorry that I laughed out loud. I thought I had my mute on. It's exactly right. It's either the phone or the texting. I mean, I was checking with everyone. I can still use you as an endorsement, right? Can I still count on your $300, right? And so, once you've run once, you first start with the low hanging fruit, which is everyone who gave to you last time, or everyone who endorsed you last time. So that's where you're going to start. But for the first time ever, you're, like you said, I mean, like Walt said, you're going to reach out to your mom and your aunt and your uncle and everyone. And then you go to the bartender, I mean, your barber and your hairdresser, maybe the bartender, your hairdresser and your barber and your nail lady, and all the things that you do that are part of your life. And so for me, we have a program called Leadership Slow, which is San Luis Obispo. And so my leadership program, and then I reach out to my husband's leadership program because he went 10 years later. And, then we reach out to them and then their friends, and, asking them to bring 3 people to the table. Basically, do you know anyone else who endorsed me? Can you think of 3 people? Can you think of 5 people? And that helps. And then also just getting people to come out and volunteer for you and walk in those precincts. You need help. No matter how awesome those, we now have technology and they're pre-printed and it's digital and you do it on your phone if you want to. It's a lot of people. We have 47,000 people in my community, and they're not all going to be home, of course. So you're leaving the mailers or flyers, and then you're coming back sometimes because hopefully you'll catch them the second time. And it's a lot of work to go and walk all those doors. But I think it's really, really helpful. I had so many people that said, "Thank you for stopping by. I've never had someone stop by before," and that was a really cool experience.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right on message there. The you got to have people to help you, and these are first steps you take. But even getting way ahead of when you finally start campaigning, if you start thinking about it, try to get involved in your city early on.
Mm-hmm.
I became a member of. We had a gang. We had a gang and graffiti problem when I first ran for city council, and they had a gang and graffiti task force, and
Perfect.
I became a member of that task force in working with the police department and our social services folks and our youth accountability board to deal with those issues. And I was able to get a little bit of exposure. You know, most cities have a planning commission. They have different commissions, the Park and Recreation Commission, the Arts Commission. All of those things are an avenue to get yourself some exposure in the community. And it's very difficult just to jump right in cold turkey when you don't know anyone. I mean, it can be done. It has been done depending upon a hot button issue. But the way you want to do this, you want to have a strategy for getting involved in the city. And then the candidate that understands a little bit about local government, one of the things you should be doing if you want to run for a local city council seat, then my question is, have you ever been to a city council meeting? Do you know how the city operates? Do you know what type of services the city in detail has? Do you know what the demographics of the city is? One of the things you can't do is get out there on the street knocking on doors and you can't answer such simple questions. So, you know, my water rate, you know, I take a notebook around with me every year, every time I campaign. Uh, I dread getting up on a Saturday morning when I've been working hard all week, and then I'm going out and I'm going to knock on doors. But let me tell you, once I get out there and I start knocking on the doors, it never fails. And this is, if I do this again in 2024, this is going to be my sixth time campaigning. And I got to tell you, one of the biggest advantages of not knocking on doors and meeting people, you learn so much more about your community and what some of the issues are. And naturally, people are going to say, you know, why are my water rates? Why did they go up? Or, you know, something's not right with my trash hauler. He's doing something. You find out all sorts of issues that, and if you're already on the council like I am, there's issues you didn't know about that you can help take care of. So again, one of the key factors is getting involved, getting some knowledge of the city, and when you walk precincts, you learn so much about your city that I don't care how much you know about your city, you learn even more about your constituents and more about the city. So walking precincts and also dialing for dollars, cold calls is what I would call it. You do learn quite a bit about what are priorities for your constituents and what some of the issues might be.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up about the meetings because a lot of us haven't really ever attended a city council meeting, and those are easy to find. You go to the website, the dates are listed. It's a great way to see what's going on in your city.
Most cities, and Mayor Stewart, you probably have this. We have when we have a city council meeting, it's recorded like this Zoom call is.
Yeah.
And you can go on our website and pull up the council meeting. Let's say you couldn't make it or you didn't feel like staying out until 10 o'clock at night when the meeting finally got to the issue you were interested in. You can go on the website and you can watch the whole meeting. And that's a great way of getting an idea. I said go to council meetings. You can actually just go online and watch the council meeting and see who the players are and see you can learn a lot from just watching a city council meeting, how they take care of business, how the business meeting runs, how the meeting is orchestrated by the city clerk in our city, that type of thing, and reports from the city manager, the police chief, the fire chief, whatnot. Very interesting for someone that has never been to a council meeting. Gives you a really good insight on how a city works.
And I even joke with people, it is a little bit of a long meeting. So you can always listen just on like 1.5 time and just, get through it.
Could definitely have it playing in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So this is kind of a follow-up question. You both went to colleges local to the areas that you are currently mayors of. Did you find that to be helpful to kind of have grassroots already kind of know a lot of the constituents already to gain that support? And then also kind of also being active in your alumni chapters and your campuses,
For
your
me,
alma
it was
maters?
very helpful. People knew when I came back about 23 years ago, I think it was. And I knew a lot of people still. A lot of people are still here. And so people would wonder, how do you know so and so? Or how do you know this person? How are you settling in so quickly? Like, oh, yeah, I went to school with them, or they were the staff person when I was in housing, or yeah, we worked on this issue together. And so coming in, I didn't have to learn what the institution was as far as Cal Poly. On top of it, as in 2016, fall of 2016, I joined the Cal Poly Alumni Board for the second time as the president-elect. So I became the president of the Alumni Association as I was actually on the council. So that was an interesting twist. And for the last 7 years, I've worked at Cal Poly, first in development and now in the health center. So having an understanding during COVID, was a really clear eye-opening moment at that point. I was getting key information from working in the health center and key information as a city council person because I wasn't mayor at that time. And some of it was overlapping and some of it was different. And it was really helpful because some individuals on the council, they were getting no other information than what they were getting from being a council member, and I had a lot more peace because I was knowing what we were doing there at the campus, or I could explain what was being done at the campus. So that has been great. And also I feel like I can ask some of the questions that are older issues but are still happening. For example, housing. Housing is an issue we all are dealing with, but university housing is a really big challenge. The university houses more people than they ever have, and they house about a third of their students. And then we have student housing issues in the community, and we have affordable housing in the community, issues in the community. And then we have students who by default end up raising the rental rates of a house because they can shove many students into a house, or someone who is a single parent just trying to raise their kids, they can't afford it at that range. They're not putting two grown people in a room. So really being able to share some of those conversations back and forth, and also just talking about like the renter's certificate the students can do, really encouraging those students, like, did you know you can do this? This will give you a leg up in connecting with the landlords here. So I feel like there's a lot of large and small issues that I really had a better just kind of a further step into the whole process by being an alumni and being involved.
For
Oh, you're
me,
on mute.
yeah,
Okay.
for me, I've been a member of the Alumni Association at Cal Poly for several years, and I'm currently on the Cal Poly Philanthropic Foundation Board of Directors, and I'm really able to see what the needs are of the college. And we just happen to, President Coley, Soraya Coley, is just a magnificent leader, and I've had the opportunity to work with her as a part of that philanthropic board, and of course the Alumni Association. But I want to even go further back than that. I have to say that Cal Poly was a saving grace for me for two reasons. I'm the poor boy from Oakland that showed up with no money in 1970. I was staying with an aunt in LA, driving back and forth the first part of the year. I'm an EOP student. Uh, that program allowed me to get on campus in housing, and it also allowed me to get NDSL loans. And I think the fact that I went through what I went through as a poor student that actually had those food insecurities and all that stuff that kids are dealing with this day really gave me an insight on what needed to be done to help out in the roles that I play now. Not only that, I think the skill set that urban planning gave me in terms of uh, learning by doing really had a, a profound uh, effect on me as a person. So, and that effect has helped me as a council member, as a mayor, and as a director of a police academy. And and so Cal Poly, I just want to give a shout out for Cal Poly because Cal Poly is, I think, indirectly helped me succeed. It was so funny because when I was a planning student, I had to do a land use map of Covina in my first year at Cal Poly, never having the foresight that I'd wind up being the mayor of the same community that I provided a site plan for of the downtown area of Covina. So, at any rate, I just wanted to throw that out there. I think Mayor Stewart's comments are right on. But I just wanted to throw that out there about what Cal Poly has meant to me and why it's such a pleasure talking about uh, being an elected official. Any of you out there that are watching this, you can do this. You can do this. It's there's mechanics involved. Campaign manager can help you with that. Uh, but you can do this. You have to have the heart to do it, but you can do it. And it's something that you can do. And like I said, you just have to learn about the mechanics.
And there's so many books and templates and links on the web and small groups on social media that can help you do that and give you the tools. Emerge California obviously was a much larger process, but I've even seen there's a group called Run Like a Girl. There's people that are out there to help. Not there's people out there to help women. There's people to help people of color. There's all different groups out there that really want to help good people run for office. You know, we are getting to the point in our politics in our country that it's a lot of the extremes, but that's not the average person that's part of our communities. It's just, you know, how do we get someone that say, I don't want to be part of that scary, you know, scary politics we're seeing out there? Well, you get to make that change. You get to make that difference in your community. And there are a lot of people who want to help you do that. So, and I just want to also give a shout out, you know, as what was talking about Cal Poly. I mean, I was the shyest person in the world before I got to Cal Poly. And it's hard to imagine that now as I've been talking to you guys at nauseam, but it's the experience of learn by doing and the experience of the support of the staff around me was huge. You know, I was president of my dorm, my resident hall, Santa Lucia, and that just kind of kicked me off to 5 years of super involvement. And I really feel like it was a microcosm of the world we live in, being at Cal Poly and being able to actually make decisions as a student was huge. And I hope that Pomona, that's what's happening as well. I imagine it is with the learn by doing thought process. And I'm just really proud of our rose float we do together. And I just, you know, we all give each other a little hard time. No, we're the real Cal Poly. You're the real Cal Poly. But really, that's just, you know, that's just all in fun. We, you know, I think that we are really all here to support each other.
100%, 100%. And my last question for the night is, in your respective positions, what is the biggest challenge that you're dealing with currently?
Homeless and housing. I mean, there's so many issues I could say that fit that same, top of mind: climate change, sustainable transportation. I mean, I could name so many different things. In our community, it is over 70% white. So we are really having, challenges around how do we help people understand the importance of inclusion and increasing diversity and equity. Um, and truly, though, housing and homelessness are probably our biggest issues. We don't build housing as a city. We help developers build housing. We try to help with the zoning. We try to take money and help subsidize the affordable housing. And with homelessness, there are so many reasons that people are homeless. As there are people who are underhoused as well as unhoused. And I think that's something that people forget. When you're couch surfing on your friends or your family's couch, that's awesome if they happen to have an extra couch or an extra room. But that's just as much important as the person who's living on the street, because where do they go next? So I think as we talk about what we can solve at the local level, we can make a big difference. And we need the partnership of the county and the state and nonprofit partners for us to come close to, I wouldn't say solving, but definitely reducing and hopefully preventing more people to have to live unhoused. So that's one of the biggest issues for us.
I think Mayor Stewart covered just about all the same ones I had. Public safety is a main one because a lot of departments can't hide. They're not, because of all of the turmoil and some of the incidents that have happened. People are just not coming to law enforcement to work as police officers. That's a major problem in the state. Another problem is we talk about the homelessness, the population, homeless population problem. The other factor is we have homeless that have substance abuse issues, that have mental health issues. We lack the services for both those areas of concern. And another one is a big one is economic development for many of the cities. I think it was 2012 that the state took away a major tool that we had that was used to house seniors and those folks that were low-income families, and that was redevelopment. When the redevelopment tool got taken away from cities in 2012, it really created a major problem for cities because we didn't have the economic engine that could help us bring developers in that were required to have low-income housing and senior housing, and that went away. So we had a lot of cities had to come up with other ingenious plans to create productivity in the city. And I will tell you, we're a working class community in Covina. 64% of our community is Hispanic. 19, close to 20% is Caucasian, and 3.4% is African American. So one of the things we did, and I was involved initially in it, is that infrastructure of a city is important. It is unseen normally by the public, with the exception of streets, because if the potholes are there, people see that and they feel it. But you got to have clean water. You got to have pipes to pump the water throughout the city. You got to have a sewage system that's working properly, and you got to have streets that are well maintained. So the other thing you have to have in terms of economic development is a safe community. When you take care of the infrastructure, you have a safe community, and you make your city more attractive by using code enforcement to deal with businesses that don't keep a property up and whatever, then you generate interest in the city. If you have an attractive city, the key is getting prosperity into your city by bringing the car dealerships, bringing the AMC theater in, and all of those things that we've been able to do in Covina. And recently, we have a laugh factory that we're gonna that we bought our community theater. We're gonna have laugh factory. So I'm trying to get Chris Rock to come to Covina, maybe Dennis Chappelle to come to Covina. Those type of activities build up the economic development in a city. But that's one of the problems that all cities have because we all we don't fight over trying to bring different element businesses into our community, but it's something that in Covina we try to make our city very worthy in terms of being attractive. So we bring those economic generators into our community so we can continue to prosper.
Thank you for that. That's definitely gives us more in-depth detail on what you do. I'm definitely always interested in urban planning, urban development. As a fan of SimCity, the video game, just when you start talking about making things in a city, it's definitely exciting, and it just makes the wheels turn. Like a laugh factory is definitely needed. I want to give the audience opportunity to ask questions in the chat box if you have any. If we don't, then I definitely want to. Oh, see, we have one question. Go ahead.
I can put it in the chat if it needs to be. I apologize. Okay. I was just wondering, first of all, thank you both for sharing this information. And I was listening when you were talking about how there was an individual in your personal life or your professional life who encouraged you to apply for the position and start to get involved. And I'm just wondering, I'm always interested in learning about career paths and career trajectories and especially mentoring. So I'm just wondering, how is it that you now in turn encourage other people to take their next step? Whether it's entering, politics or education or whatever it is, what is it that you say or do to give people that same type of nudge that you were giving?
That is a great question. And I would say the majority of it is not about the official mentor program. I have done a few of those, but truly it's just encouraging people where they're at. People will tell me, oh, I could never do X. I could never run for office. I could never be in this position. I'm like, yes, you could. Or why do you say that? And I ask depending on the person and where we're at and what we're doing, I'll ask one of those questions. Either, why do you think that? Or what do you need to be able to achieve that? Because I think that people often have limiting beliefs that were formed from family members or friends or society or whatever it is, and trying to help people get past those limiting beliefs. And then, when people come up to me and tell me, wow, I wish I could do that. Great. How can I help you do that? I'm always wanting to know how I can help people. And I have, volunteer opportunities for me as mayor. And I did the same thing as city council, help me with my social media, or people who want to help by writing a speech or however they want to be involved. I try to figure out ways to get them involved. Or I'll say, hey, how about this advisory body? And I try to encourage people to sign up for advisory bodies. And if I know they're involved or interested in something specific, I try to make sure to say, hey, in January, this is going to happen. Let's talk about that and get you connected. So it really just kind of depends on the person and what they're looking at, but really trying to figure out what they want to do and how to help them get there, or why they think they can't and help them get past that.
For me, mentorship is what got me where I've gone in my life. In Oakland, I had a baseball coach that helped me out in terms of not only mentoring me, but instilling some really good values. That's aside my parents helped me with helping instill some good core values, but the coaches and different people, teachers, my high school teacher, Don Ferrata, became the president pro tem of the Senate. And when I got appointed by Governor Schwarzenegger, he was my high school teacher, and now he's the president pro tem. He testified on my behalf at my Senate hearing because I had to be confirmed. And here's my high school teacher that sat there as the president pro tem, who would become the president pro tem, that is. And he was in the legislature, and he testified on my behalf. So I, in turn, have made it a key in my career. I have made it a point to mentor in my profession, in the law enforcement profession. Unfortunately, we don't have very many people of color in the profession, as I've been growing up with the Department of Justice as a law enforcement career. And so I made it a point to do a lot of mentoring along the way. When it comes to an elected official position, routinely I have young people that want to intern. And we do have a little program in our city where if you want to intern, we will let you work in the city manager's office and help out and learn about city government. But that's just some of the things I've done as an elected official and as a law enforcement professional.
Thank you.
So we are coming to a close. I wanted to give each mayor an opportunity for a closing remark or closing statements. And sorry, I'll give you that time right now.
Okay, well, I think Mayor Allen has said this numerous times, and tonight is you can do it. If you wish to be involved at this level, at the policy level, and make change in your city as an elected or later as the county or state, you can do it. And I think that means a couple things, right? You have to prepare yourself. So whether you're going to be on an advisory body, committee, or some sort of way to get involved with the city council or the city itself, if you're going to go for the city council, I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to be part of a committee in some way, shape, or form. If you can't do that, I would encourage you to actually watch the city council meetings from the recorded or the live. I would watch, an advisory body committee or two and see what that was like, so you know what you're getting yourself into. And then I would really encourage you to, look for one of the groups that will help you and support you in running for office. Utilize the tools, utilize all the tools. You'll find all different kinds of tools. You'll find some that work for you, some that don't. Just like, money management or anything else there are so many great tools out there, but yet which one's the right one for you? And you have to kind of keep trying a couple different ones. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Reach out to people that you feel kind of match what you're looking to do, and ask them questions and get to know what it took them to get to there, and how you can do that yourself as well. Also, ask people that don't match you, and find out what makes them tick and why they're running. And I bet you will find commonalities, even when you don't think there are. And that also helps you know kind of what you are trying to wrap your head around and change policies with the knowledge of who is maybe against you as well.
Well said. And adding to what Mayor Stewart has indicated, which is very good, the most important thing is ask yourself this question: why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do it? And once you answer that question and you decide to do it, the internet is full of information in terms of the mechanics. But if I were you, one of the quickest ways to get acquainted to running for campaigns is get on a committee of someone that you admire and that you look up to. Get on their campaign committee. Find out what the mechanics are. You can do that by helping someone with their campaign. And if you live in San Luis Obispo, I understand Mayor Stewart is going to be running for re-election. You get on her campaign, or you can come to Covina, and I'll let you help me walk precincts. But in all honesty, answer that initial question: why do you want to do this? You have to have a good reason for doing it. And once you answer that question, There's a lot of information out there on the internet. There's people you can talk to. Every city has what I call the 100. What is the 100? There are 100 men and women that are very influential in the city. Every city has the 100. There might be more or less, but these are people that are knowledgeable about the city. They're involved in Rotary. They're involved in Kiwanis. They're involved in the Boys and Girls Club. They're involved in different activities in the community. And they're the ones that I call them the king and queen makers. They know everything about the city. They know who the connections are and all of that stuff. Those are people you should get to know or find out who they are. A lot of those people will mentor you. And the most important thing is once you start on the trail of running for office, run hard, and you're going to get those butterflies when you start walking precincts and you're running, and things will happen that will make you angry about what people may say or what they may do or whatever. Just forge ahead, don't give up, and give it all you got.
Thank you for those words of advice. Both of you have really provided a lot of information and resources tonight. I want to thank Mayor Allen, Mayor Stewart. It's always great when both Cal Polys can get together and have events, especially events like this when we have so many Black mayors present in the United States now. I'm starting to see more and more every election cycle, more and more mayors. So thank you for this information. Everyone listening to the recording, you can definitely reach out to the Alumni Association of both campuses, and you'll be able to access all these alums that are in different positions throughout the political sphere and get information like this. Really good night, and really want to say good night, everyone, and thank you for your support. And it was a great year this year. We hope to have more events like this next year.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Mayor Stewart, take care. Thank you all. It's been a lot of fun being on tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.